Greetings, unsettled souls. Welcome to the Correct Views. Sam, I be the Gangi doing political commentary for the Media Speaks. I need to know, and I'm being very serious here, I need to know who hears this. And if you do, please leave a message on the comment line. How many of you have heard about YouTubers being denied their monetization due to their views? Or guess what? I'm one of them. YouTube has demonetized the account. And there's two reasons. First of all, I'm sure it's my views, because I have not found this thing to be happening to more socialistic-minded hosts. Second of all, I'm sure a lot of it has to do with the fact that the camera that I'm using for the show, as you can see, pretty much sucks balls. The point is, it's bigger than that. YouTube has been harassing the account. One of the reasons that the view count has gone down is because they refuse to promote the videos put out by conservatives. And again, what's strange about that is I'm kind of a social liberal. I never considered myself a conservative until this came up within the last few years, where the left has become what the conservatives used to be. You can't say or do anything. Well, I'm interested to see how many of you have even saw the video come up on a feed. I guess what I'm trying to say is the attack is very obvious. It's not fake. It's not something that's coming up only in the minds of hosts who have seen some kind of problem with Google. This is something that is actually very real and something that is happening now. And if they can do it to me, then they can do it to Alex Jones. They can do it to anyone they want. And if we don't stand up against it, you know, it's going to become more problematic than ever before. I think that that's kind of obvious here at this point. If you would like to help me get a better camera, that certainly would help. You can do so by donating at the Correct Views at hotmail.com. I'm going to go on and get straight into the news that I have for everyone. Herman Cain speaking the truth here. I was very happy to see this. As you can see, it might be important for you snowflakes to understand that he is in fact a black man. He says that Trump does not have a racist bone in his body. He was the insurgent 2012 candidate who defied expectations to briefly lead the Republican primary. And some people have associated him, of course, with the Tea Party, and he is a host of his own radio show, much like Michael Savage's. And he's had a lot of praise for Donald Trump. He said, "I don't think Donald Trump has a racist bone in his body." And you can quote me on that, he said. "I have known him for many years. I have talked to people who have worked directly for him. The man is a businessman. How could he be a racist? His daughter married a person whose religious belief is Jewish. Good. He doesn't go around making statements that are racist in nature. No, he says things that some people out there, especially people who don't like him, try to spin into being racist." And you can't ask for a more honest assessment of facts than that. When he was campaigning, I spoke at 3 of his rallies. There are plenty of black people and Hispanic people that are trying to help him get elected. I never saw him try to put anybody down. The people who don't like him are trying to stick him with a racist label, which is not true, Cain said. First, he denied saying the word, meaning, again, if for those of you that don't like vulgarity, I'm about to swear, shitholes for African countries, where he said, first of all, Cain said that he denied saying that word. 2 senators that were in the room didn't hear him say the word. The head of Homeland Security said she didn't hear him say the word. Cain also told Yahoo News the only person who said that he had said it was Senator Dick Durbin. And then people have picked up the alleged saying of it as if he said it. Why can't they believe him and 4 other people? He also said, yes, he has said some things when he was using Twitter accounts that may have been a little bit rough around the edges. I get that. And there are certainly some people that make us cringe, certainly some of that makes us cringe a little bit. But I love the title of the book that he came up recently by Corin Lewandowski and David Bessie. It said, "Let Trump be Trump." And I think that that's a lot of what we're talking about here, because every little comment that some snowflake wants to make isn't somehow racist. It just isn't. I had a black lady go off on me on Facebook recently because I pointed out that Black Panther was not, is not, and will never be remembered as the first black action hero movie. You're forgetting about Spawn and you're forgetting about Blade. Suddenly I was Joe racist. She even accused me of working for the CIA. So when things are taken out of context, just because some color is mentioned, that does not make anyone a racist. And it's very good to see people like Herman Cain standing up for logic in this regard. Listen to this. It's actually not good news coming here from Ron Paul, somebody who would definitely know. Trump may be vulnerable to a 2020 GOP primary challenge. Former Texas Republican Ron Paul says a year-long economic boom under President Trump is a bit of an illusion, and that the debt, inflation, and inequality could cause turmoil that benefits the hardcore nucleus of libertarians. Now, see, in this regard, it can be seen as good news because Donald Trump has not done anything to get us back on the gold standard. And that is what needs to be.
Hi there, I'm Jack Canfield.
Oh,
and today I'd like to discuss the power your unconscious mind has.
So you might not want to go to this site here, since a Washington Examiner seems to be annoying as hell. Anyway, as I was saying, if we don't get back to the gold standard, America is never going to recover in the way Trump was hoping that we would during what he called when America was great. One of the reasons that America was great was because we were on the gold standard. And the fact that even though we're doing well within the confines of the current system that Trump is working under, I think it's important for all of us to take note of the fact that it is a flawed system. It's not the gold standard, and this could be what hurts him in the long run. The Libertarian Republican leader told the Washington Examiner, with the annoying site, that Trump could face strong challenge in the 2020 primary, especially if things are really much worse. The big opening for us is the fact that this system is coming apart. We're on the verge of something that happened in '89 when the Soviet Union just collapsed, he said. I'm just hoping our system comes apart as gracefully as the Soviet system did. My concern with this is that the current Libertarian Party, as it stands, is less libertarian in some ways, not economically, than Donald Trump is. Gary Johnson was a decent candidate in 2012, but he was a dreadful candidate in 2017. There's a lot to be said, 16. There's a lot to be said for Harry Brown as a libertarian, Bob Barr as a libertarian, not in the way that Gary Johnson was, who was simply pandering towards Bernie Sanders supporters. So a libertarian getting a foothold because he is right, as Gary Johnson was, about the economy, does not mean it's going to help us when he's as wrong in as many ways as Gary Johnson was. Paul doesn't believe that the U.S. will break into separate countries, but instead expects a rethink of the monetary policy and an end to what he considers U.S. empire building overseas. Well, see, again, and I love Ron Paul, you all know that, but that's not really fair because Donald Trump has not been part of empire building overseas. Other than attacking ISIS and one incident in Syria, he's left other nations alone. We have ownership of these countries, but it's not quite like the Soviets did, he said. I think our stature in the world and our empire will end. And that's when hopefully the doors will be open and people will say, hey, maybe these libertarians do have some answers after all. And he feels that the whole system is an illusion built on corporate, personal, and government debt. He is right. It's a bubble economy in many, many different ways, and it's going to come unglued, he said. The appearance of the libertarian movement has been set back partially because of Trump, but intellectually, we've been doing well. And again, I think that that's because there are a large number of libertarians who do not want to admit what an extreme libertarian Donald Trump is in a lot of ways. Now, Do we all wish that he was that way in terms of economic policy and the gold standard? Of course we do. Of course we do. But I don't think that the Libertarian Party, with the way that Gary Johnson has left it, is going to be the answer to that, because the party, in my opinion, has gone in the wrong direction, the open borders burning direction, which is going to bring us to economic ruin, even if we are on the gold standard. Fred, I've got 3 more to get to here. This is there is no wage gap. Conservative Tribune has proven it for us here. Don't expect the media to talk about it, though. If you listen to the mainstream narratives about America they write, you'd come away with one clear impression. The country is horribly bigoted, and discrimination is rampant against the LGBT community. Of course, liberal narratives are rarely correct, and an eye-opening study just found that gays may actually have an advantage in America. According to the study published by the Harvard Business Review, gay men earn about 10% more than straight men. And this is true even when there is a similar job experience and education is compared. Now, this needs to be put into the proper perspective, because we know that there is no wage gap between men and women. The only reason there is because women don't tend to go into the same kind of fields that men do. Women doctors make just as much as men doctors. There's no signs that say hiring $8 an hour for men, $6 an hour for women. Doesn't happen. Although what we're seeing here with gay men is the actual problem that the feminist movements have tried to make. Gay people are making more money doing the same work. Lesbians earn 9% more than straight women in the workplace. How unfair, they write. Researchers did a double take when they saw the result, but after digging into the data, they kept coming to the same conclusion. We double and triple checked the data set for other patterns that would indicate some fundamental error or data problem. We found none, said Christopher Kidd, Carpenter, Vanderbilt University professor of economics. We subjected the gay male earnings premium to a host of extra tests to see if we could make it go away, and we could not. In other words, the gay advantage seems to be very real, at least in the current American economy. I think the bigger pictures sometimes get lost here. Why do we need to care who someone is sleeping with in the bedroom? Or many someones, as the case may be, who cares? Why do we need a gay parade? We want a straight parade. It's prejudice against gay people. No, it's not. Gay people are welcome to join in any parade they want. Why do we need a gay parade? Why do we need a straight parade? Ever see an asexual parade? I'd be yawning through the whole event. Playing Brahms' Lullaby in the marching band. Listen to this. Fox News. Carl Jenkins, ex-U.S. Army soldier who defected to North Korea, died at the age of 77. Now, this man was quite an interesting, though very odd duck, to say the least. He defected to North Korea during the North Korean War. Became a movie star. Even during the famine, the North Korean government fed him handsomely. He was actually crying on air once talking about it. But people have said that his life was hell too, and that he couldn't say that he regretted defecting to North Korea, which never happens. But in any event, the man has met his end. He was one of the ones that were thought to be more abusive of the other soldiers who left and defected as well. If you've seen the documentary, I can't go into all of it here, but Jenkins was not considered to be the nicest of the three. He was a former U.S. Army soldier, according to Fox, who deserted to North Korea at the height of the Cold War. He died, this is on Monday, but again, this is dated a bit. But he died at the age of 77. He collapsed outside of his home in Sado, northern Japan, on Monday, and was rushed to a hospital where he was later pronounced dead. He died of heart failure. He was originally from Rich Square, North Carolina, disappeared in January of '65. It was while patrol along the demilitarized zone. Later interviews, he said he decided to abandon his unit and defect to the North fearing he would be killed during a patrol or sent to the Vietnam War, BBC tells us. He was among 4 Americans to defect to North Korea in the 1960s. His plan was to seek asylum at the Russian embassy and eventually return to the U.S. in a prisoner swap, but the scheme didn't work. The Russian embassy did not grant Jenkins, which of course they would not have done during the Cold War. They wouldn't have dared. It's not like Edward Snowden today. They didn't take any other Americans either. Instead, Jenkins was held as a prisoner by the North Koreans. Thinking back now, I was a fool, said Jenkins in 2005 when he's talking to CBS. If there's a God in heaven, he carried me through it. Jenkins said he was tortured by captors who would beat him. They conducted medical procedures on him that were brutal, including cutting off a U.S. Army tattoo without anesthesia. Ouch. He would lament that his desertion led to decades of deprivation and hardship in the communist country. One bright spot was his meeting his wife, of course, Hitomi Soga, who was kidnapped in Pyongyang in 1978. She's been abducted by the North Korean spies and the Japanese. She's one of 13 Japanese citizens that Tokyo says were kidnapped and brought to the North in the 1970s and 80s. Well, I mean, that's what you get when you put a knife in your country's back to some degree. Oh, you know what that is. That's right, friends. It's the music that brings you the dumbdee of the day. Now, if you don't know, I do the dunce cap of the month. That goes once a month, and I'll be doing that again probably within the next couple of weeks. I'm behind. I have to get the last 2 sent out, but I promise you I will do that. And here we go. I even cut it off before it got to the "You Are an Idiot" part, but that's okay. You know the song very well by now, I am sure. All right, guys, here's our dumbdee. Also from Fox. Hopeful rapper attempts to rob Memphis Wingstop to get owner Rick Ross's attention. You know, part of this, it can only be blamed on Rick Ross because he's the kind of person that comes up with, remember I'm a Boss? He's the person who has helped dumb down our nation every time he steps up to a microphone. Therefore, the people that follow him can be expected to be dumb enough to try something like this. So I almost think Rick Ross should say, hey, it's my fault. I'll let him go, since I'm standing here wearing an inverted cross. An aspiring rapper attempted to rob Memphis Wingstop Friday, and he wanted to get, of course, the attention of Rick Ross. Cedric Miller, the doltish 23-year-old who's winning the dumbdee of the day, was arrested on Monday after police received the tip of an employee of the chain restaurant and identified Miller in a police lineup as one of the suspects, according to WREG News. Surveillance video showed 2 suspects holding the cashier at gunpoint, but leaving the restaurant after the bungling burglars could not open the register, according to the New York Post. Yep, that's a Rick Ross fan for you. Miller told police he robbed the restaurant to get the attention of the hip-hop boss who owned the restaurant. He owns about 30 of those restaurants in the Atlanta area. It's a ridiculous way to get someone's attention. How are you going to get his attention while sitting in jail? Carmen Blaine, the customer, had said, well, you know, when you're dealing with the modern hip-hop crowd, you have to remember that you're dealing with people that are not all there. Like, they're just a little slow. When you hear that someone's favorite music is Rick Ross or Marion, then you automatically assume that you're just a little bit dumber than everyone else. So, I mean, you've got to take that into account, too. Friends, you've been listening to The Correct Views. Thank you for doing so. Please donate at thecorrectviews@hotmail.com. And as always, friends, good night. God bless.